Need a blueprint to start your mobile notary business? Don't stumble through the process. You need an outline for success. Introducing the Mobile Notary Blueprint by Derrick Spruill. Build your thriving mobile business and protect yourself from costly mistakes with expert advice. Buy your copy of the Mobile Notary Blueprint by Derrick Spruill from any online bookstore, Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble Bookstore, booksofmillion.com, bookshop.org, Mobile Notary by DerrickSpruill.com, or download from Kindle and build your successful notary business today.
Imagine a new hire logging into their very first day of work from their living room in Seattle.
Right.
And they have this absolute mountain of onboarding paperwork. But HR is like 3,000 miles away in New York.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Completely across the country.
Yeah. So to get it done, the new hire's roommate just, glances at their passport, scribbles some information on a federal immigration document, leaves a few boxes blank, and unknowingly creates a permanent $28,000 liability for a Fortune 500 company.
It's terrifying. But welcome to Notary Knowledge.
We are Eddie and Marylyn, and we're coming to you with a really bold, direct mandate today.
Absolutely. Because if you're listening to this, you are not a beginner. You are a savvy strategist.
Yeah.
You're a high-level operator looking for that next highly lucrative, scalable vertical in the corporate compliance space.
And our mission today is razor sharp. We are focusing entirely on corporate onboarding.
Specifically, how you position yourself as a high-volume, elite, I-9 authorized representative for enterprise hiring.
Because we're looking at this from a very experienced, high-level perspective. I mean, for those of you who followed our prior strategies on securing vendor contracts.
Yeah, consider this the masterclass application of those exact principles.
Right. We are zeroing in on a massive compliance crisis that is currently, literally, keeping enterprise human resources directors awake at night.
Oh, absolutely. The numbers behind this crisis are just staggering. By 2025, over 75% of workers will demand hybrid or remote work.
75%, that's huge.
Yeah, it's not a trend anymore. It is a permanent structural shift in how the American economy operates. And it has collided violently with a federal law that requires physical, in-person document inspection for every single new hire.
Which is basically a geographical impossibility for HR now.
Exactly. I mean, you have enterprise teams sitting in a skyscraper in Austin or Chicago, and they're trying to hire top engineering talent in, say, San Jose or Dallas.
Right, and they are legally blocked from completing the onboarding process because they are thousands of miles away from the employee's physical identity and work authorization documents.
And the stakes for getting this wrong, they have never been higher.
No, because today we're going to expose the devastating March 2026 policy changes by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
Which most people just know as ICE.
Right, ICE. They have completely rewritten the rule book. They turned minor clerical errors that, used to just get a warning into massive, uncorrectable, immediate fines.
It sounds like an absolute regulatory nightmare for corporate America.
It really does. But for you, the savvy strategist listening right now, it's the ultimate B2B opportunity.
Oh, without a doubt. You are going to learn how to step into the gap as an elite compliance partner.
But to actually capitalize on this corporate onboarding niche, we have to start at the foundation. We need to understand the exact logistical nightmare that HR directors are dealing with.
Right. So let's go back to the federal mandate itself.
Where does this requirement actually originate?
Well, it stems from the Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986.
Right.
It's often referred to as IRCA. And the core principle of IRCA was to basically shift the burden of immigration enforcement squarely onto the shoulders of American businesses.
Wow. Okay, so the mandate is pretty simple in theory, right? Employers just cannot knowingly hire unauthorized workers.
Exactly. And to enforce this, the federal government created the Form I-9, the Employment Eligibility Verification Document.
Which applies to everyone, right?
Every single U.S. employer and every single W-2 employee hired after November 6, 1986.
So it's universal, but what makes it a logistical nightmare today compared to back in 1986? Because back then, everyone just went into an office, shook hands, and handed their boss a driver's license.
Yeah, and that is exactly the issue. The law was built for an analog, in-person world. But the execution is governed by this ruthlessly strict timeline that really doesn't care if your workforce is remote.
Ah, the timeline.
Right. The employee must complete Section 1 of the form on or before their very first day of employment.
Okay, on or before day one.
Yep. Then the employer must complete Section 2 within 3 business days of the employee's start date. And that 3-day window, it's non-negotiable.
So if someone starts on a Monday, the employer has until Thursday to, look at the documents and sign the form?
Correct.
Which brings us right back to the remote work problem.
Yeah.
I mean, if the HR manager is in Chicago and the new hire is in Seattle, HR cannot physically examine their original passport.
Right.
And the law strictly forbids just looking at a photocopy, right?
Oh, absolutely. For decades, the law has strictly forbidden examining photocopies. The original physical document must be examined in the physical presence of the employee.
Wow.
So to solve this, the government created a workaround. We can call it the authorized representative loophole.
Okay, I like the sound of that.
Yeah, it is officially detailed in the USCIS M274 handbook for employers. Basically, the federal government allows an employer to designate an authorized representative to act as their agent.
So a local proxy.
Exactly. This representative meets the employee locally, physically examines the original documents, and then completes and signs Section 2 on the employer's behalf.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for the people listening, I think, because who is actually allowed to be this representative? Does it have to be like a lawyer or a federal agent?
That is the wild part. According to the federal guidelines, almost anyone can serve in this capacity.
Wait, anyone?
Basically, yeah. A personnel officer, a foreman, an agent, a notary public, acting in a non-official capacity. Or even get this, friend or family member of the new hire.
Wait, hold on. A friend or family member. So an HR director at a major corporation can just tell a new hire to have their college roommate verify their federal documents.
Yes, it is technically legal under federal law.
That sounds insane.
It is.
But
And it introduces the ultimate liability trap, which is the very reason our listeners are going to be able to sell their services at a massive premium.
okay, what's the catch?
Here is the catch. The employer remains 100% legally and financially liable for any error the authorized representative makes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. If the representative makes a mistake, the employer pays the fine. The roommate doesn't pay it. The massive corporation does.
So this is what we see all the time in the corporate world, right? We call it the friends and family anti-patch.
Exactly.
To save money and time, HR tells the remote hire, hey, just have your roommate, your spouse, or your cousin look at your passport and sign Section 2.
Right, which is just...
It sounds like they are essentially outsourcing their federal compliance liability to a totally untrained civilian. I mean, it's like handing the keys of a Formula One race car to a teenager who just got their learner's permit.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Right. A crash isn't just possible, it's absolutely inevitable. But the massive corporation is the one paying the insurance premium when that car hits the wall.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. Think about the mechanics of what is actually happening during that process. A roommate has zero training in immigration compliance.
Right. None.
They do not know how to spot fraudulent documents. They do not know the complex sequencing required in Section 2, like identifying the correct issuing authority or matching expiration dates perfectly.
And when people don't understand a government form, what do they usually do?
They panic. They leave fields blank, they use whiteout to fix mistakes, or they write the dates in the wrong format.
It is a ticking time bomb just sitting in a filing cabinet somewhere.
Oh, absolutely.
Before we explain exactly how that bomb goes off, because the government recently changed how they penalize those mistakes,
Yep.
I want to remind you to take your professional development to the next level.
Yes, definitely.
If you are serious about becoming an elite compliance partner, you need to arm yourself with the right resources. Be sure to buy the Notary Knowledge books by Derrick Spruill.
They are fantastic.
And visit the Notary Knowledge website for unparalleled resources and high-level training materials designed specifically for the savvy strategist. It's so true. Now let's explore why corporate HR is suddenly so desperate for professional authorized representatives instead of just relying on that friends and family method.
Because things changed, right?
Big time. Because the federal government just changed the rules of engagement, and they did it very, very quietly. You are referring to the March 2026 ICE fact sheet overhaul.
I am.
To understand why this change is sending shockwaves through corporate boardrooms, we really need to understand how ICE audits used to work. There was an old framework that gave employers a pretty comfortable safety net, wasn't there?
Yes. For decades, audits were governed by a 1997 directive known as the Virtue Memorandum.
Okay, the Virtue Memorandum.
Right. Under that old framework, If Immigration and Customs Enforcement audited your company, meaning they served you with a notice of inspection and demanded to see all your I-9s within 3 days, they would categorize any paperwork violations they found.
Okay.
If the errors were deemed technical or procedural, the employer was given a 10-business-day grace period to fix them before any fines were assessed.
So it was essentially a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Pretty much, yeah.
If a roommate forgot to date a signature, ICE would point it out. And HR had 10 days to track the employee down and say, hey, fill in the date, no harm, no foul.
Exactly. But in March 2026, ICE released a quiet but absolutely brutal update.
Oh, man.
They reclassified over 10 common clerical errors.
Yeah.
They moved them from the technical category, meaning they were correctable, into the substantive category.
And substantive means?
Substantive means immediate, non-correctable monetary penalties. There is no 10-day cure window anymore. If the auditor finds the mistake, the fine is automatic.
Wow, what kind of errors are we talking about here? Because if they are complex, immigration code errors, maybe the risk isn't that high for the average worker.
Well, that is the terrifying part for HR. The newly reclassified substantive violations are the exact basic mistakes an untrained friend or roommate is guaranteed to make.
Like what?
We are talking about missing the date of hire in Section 2, missing the employee's date of birth in Section 1, failure to date Section 1 or Section 2 entirely.
Just simple dates.
Just dates. And perhaps the most common, leaving the employer or authorized representative title blank.
Oh, I can see exactly how that happens. A roommate signs their name in Section 2, but they get to the box that says title, and they think, well, I don't work for this company. I'm just a guy. So they leave it blank.
Exactly.
And under the old rules, HR could just fix that. But under the new rules, that single blank box is an instant substantive violation.
It is. And the financial impact is just staggering.
Yeah.
As of the latest Federal Register adjustments, fines for these paperwork violations range from $288 to $2,861 per individual form.
Wow.
Just for paperwork errors.
Let me just do the math on that for a second. If an enterprise company hires 500 remote workers in a year.
Which is common.
Right. And they use the friends and family method, and just half of those forms have a blank title or a missing date. That's 250 forms.
Yep.
At the maximum penalty, that's over $700,000 in fines purely for clerical errors.
And that is just the paperwork penalty. If the auditor finds evidence that the company knowingly hired unauthorized workers, the fines escalate all the way up to $28,619 per worker.
That's bankruptcy for some companies.
It really is. But sticking strictly to the paperwork, the removal of that 10-day cure window makes every single blank box a ticking time bomb.
And it's not like the risk just goes away after the employee's first week, right?
Yeah.
This introduces a legal concept that our listeners need to deeply understand when they pitch to corporations, the continuing violation.
Oh, this is a critical point to raise in client meetings.
Break it down for us.
An I-9 error is not a one-time event that happened in the past. Legally, a deficient Form I-9 is a live, ongoing violation for as long as that employee works for the company.
So there's no statute of limitations.
The statute of limitations does not protect you while the employee is active.
Doesn't the liability even outlive their employment?
It does. Because of the strict federal retention period, employers must keep the I-9 for 3 years after the date of hire, or 1 year after termination, whichever is later.
So even after they leave.
For that entire duration, the violation is live. That blank title field or missing date is a findable offense sitting in a digital repository for years.
Wow.
This is the exact leverage you use in your pitch. The risk is simply too catastrophic for a corporation to trust an untrained civilian.
Okay, so physical I-9s carry massive risks if executed poorly. But a logical strategist listening to this might ask, hey, if the fines are this steep and the friends and family method is a ticking time bomb, why aren't these massive tech companies just hopping on a Zoom call to look at the passports?
Right, it seems like the obvious solution.
Yeah, I mean, they have the technology. Why not just verify documents over webcam and skip the in-person representative altogether?
It is a great question because the technology certainly exists. But the federal government built a massive, complex firewall around remote video verification.
Of course they did.
On August 1st, 2023, the Department of Homeland Security made rules for remote video verification permanent. We call it the DHS alternative procedure,
Okay.
but they put a heavy lock on the door. The absolute prerequisite to using video verification is that the employer must be actively enrolled in E-Verify, and they must be in good standing at all applicable hiring sites.
Okay, let's break down E-Verify for a second so everyone is on the same page. E-Verify is the government's online system that cross-references the data an employee puts on their I-9 against Social Security Administration and Department of Homeland Security records.
Exactly.
It essentially checks if the person actually exists and is authorized to work. So if a company is not enrolled in that federal database, they cannot use video verification at all, period.
Correct. And even if a company is enrolled in E-Verify, the rules for conducting a video verification are incredibly strict.
How so?
Well, it cannot just be a manager saying, hey, email me a photo of your driver's license. The interaction must be a live, real-time video call. No pre-recorded videos are allowed.
The logistics of that live call seem pretty intense based on the DHS guidelines. How does that actual video process work?
First, the employee has to transmit clear front and back copies of their documents to the employer before the meeting.
Okay.
Then they have to get on the live video call and physically hold up those exact original documents to the camera.
So they have to show it on screen.
Right. So the employer can verify that they match the copies sent earlier and that they reasonably appear to belong to the person on screen.
That sounds like an administrative headache to manage, like lighting, camera resolution, and document glare. And it doesn't end when the call hangs up, does it?
No, it doesn't. Because the employer is then legally mandated to retain those clear, legible front and back copies of the documents for the entire duration of the retention period.
Which is years.
Exactly. And finally, the employer must check a specific box on the Form I-9 indicating that the alternative procedure was used.
Here is the danger zone, connecting back to those ICE fines we just talked about. If a company uses remote video verification to examine documents, but they are not actively enrolled in E-Verify, how does ICE treat that?
ICE now classifies that as a substantive, uncorrectable violation.
Instant fines.
Instant fines. You cannot retroactively fix it. If you examined documents via Zoom and you weren't on E-Verify, that I-9 is permanently invalid in the eyes of an auditor.
So let's explore the market viability here. If a massive Fortune 500 company qualifies for E-Verify and they have the HR tech stack to manage the live video and secure document storage, does the market for in-person authorized representatives just disappear for those specific companies?
Not at all. In fact, the market for in-person physical verification remains incredibly robust, even among Fortune 500s.
Well, Lily, why?
The reason is that many enterprise companies specifically opt out of E-Verify.
Why would they opt out? If it allows them to use video, wouldn't they want to enroll?
Because E-Verify carries a massive administrative burden on the back end. When you submit an employee's data to E-Verify, the system doesn't always come back with a green light.
Right.
Very often, it returns a tentative non-confirmation, or a TNC.
A TNC, okay.
TNC means the government databases found a discrepancy. Maybe the employee got married and changed their name, but the Social Security Administration hasn't updated it yet.
Happens all the time.
Right. But when a TNC happens, HR has to stop what they are doing, officially notify the employee, and the employee only has 8 days to contact the government to resolve it.
8 days is not a lot of time for a government fix.
It isn't. And if the HR team fails to manage that strict timeline, the company faces severe penalties. It stalls the entire onboarding pipeline.
I see. So for a company hiring thousands of people, the sheer volume of TNCs they would have to manage makes E-Verify more expensive in human capital than it's worth.
Exactly.
Are there legal complexities with E-Verify across different states, too?
Immense complexities. While E-Verify is a federal program, its usage is dictated heavily by state law. States like Florida, Tennessee, and North Carolina have differing, strict E-Verify mandates for certain businesses.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. A national company might not want to entangle their entire nationwide operation in a web of state-by-state database compliance just to satisfy the video requirements for their remote hires. They often prefer a uniform, physical I-9 process across all 50 states.
Plus, even over a high-definition webcam, some documents are just too complex to verify digitally. I mean, think about foreign nationals with complex visa documents.
Right, it's impossible.
A standard 720p laptop webcam isn't going to cut it when an HR manager is trying to locate microprinting or like specific holographic security features on a highly sensitive immigration document. You need a human being in the room to physically inspect it.
Precisely. The need for physical, in-person authorized representatives is permanent and growing because E-Verify is simply not a blanket solution for every enterprise.
This is a perfect time to remind you to check out the incredible video podcast No Notary with Eddie Montes Travis,
A must-watch.
as well as Marylyn's 90 Seconds of Notary. These are phenomenal resources to keep your skills sharp and your business strategies ahead of the curve as you navigate these compliance waters.
Definitely check those out. Now, corporate America knows that mobile professionals, particularly notaries, are the perfect logistical solution for physical document inspection.
You are mobile, you are thoroughly vetted, and you are accustomed to handling highly sensitive identity documents on a daily basis.
Exactly. But ironically, notaries often completely bungle the execution of the I-9 because they treat it like a traditional notarization.
Yes. This brings us to the golden rule of I-9s. If you take nothing else away from this discussion, this must be burned into your operational manual.
Write this down.
Completing a Form I-9 is not a notarial act.
Let me repeat the mechanism behind that. It is not a notarial act.
Right.
When you are hired by a corporation to verify an I-9, you are acting exclusively as their authorized representative.
Right.
You are an agent of the company, acting in a non-official capacity regarding your notary commission. Therefore, you must never apply your official notary seal or stamp to the Form I-9.
Never.
In the title field of Section 2, you must write authorized representative. You never write notary public.
If you stamp that form, you are instantly demonstrating to the HR director that you do not understand federal compliance.
Yep.
You will lose that enterprise contract immediately because a stamp has absolutely no legal standing on an I-9, and it actually confuses the document's legal status during an audit.
I want to ground this in reality. If you are an elite compliance partner in the field, what does a disaster scenario actually look like when someone hands you their documents?
Good question.
Let's walk through 5 highly specific document scenarios that you will encounter. These scenarios separate the amateurs from the elite compliance partners.
I love this. Let's start with a scenario in Ohio. Let's say a guy named David shows up for his I-9 verification appointment, but he was just in a car accident and he has a broken arm and a heavy cast. He literally cannot hold a pen to sign Section 1 of his form. What is the process here?
This tests your knowledge of the form's deep structure. If David cannot fill out or sign Section 1, he obviously needs a preparer or translator to help him.
Right.
But you, as the authorized representative, cannot just fill it out for him, have him make a verbal oath, and leave it at that.
Which people do all the time.
They do. But anyone who helps an employee complete Section 1 must fill out Supplement A.
Supplement A.
Which is the preparer and/or translator certification. Under the new March 2026 rules, incomplete preparer information in Supplement A is a substantive violation.
There's that word again. Substantive.
Exactly. You have to ensure that Supplement is perfectly executed, signed, and dated by whoever helps him before you even look at his physical documents for Section 2.
That is a critical procedural trap. Okay, let's move to a second scenario in Florida. You are verifying Jessica. She is an elderly employee who is coming out of retirement for a specialized consulting role.
Happens a lot.
She brings you a voter registration card and a social security card. But the social security card is heavily laminated, and her voter card doesn't even have a photo on it. Can you accept those?
Let's break down the categories. The voter registration card is a List B document, which establishes identity.
Right.
Even without a photo, a voter registration card is acceptable under federal guidelines for List B, provided it contains identifying information like name, date of birth, gender, height, eye color, and address.
So the voter card is valid?
Yes. Her Social Security card is a List C document, which establishes employment authorization. However, the lamination is the trap here. If the Social Security card states on the back, "not valid if laminated," the authorized representative must reject it. You have to know the physical constraints of the documents presented. You cannot accept a document that has voided itself.
So what happens when you tell Jessica you can't accept the laminated Social Security card and she says, "Oh, that's annoying. Let me just go to my safe and get my U.S. passport instead"?
That brings up the crucial anti-discrimination rule.
Very important.
The authorized representative must never steer documents. You cannot demand a U.S. passport. You cannot say a passport would be easier for me to record.
Even if it would be.
Even if it would be. The employee has the absolute legal right to choose which documents to present from the lists of acceptable documents.
Okay.
If she wants to present a List A document like a passport, great. If she wants to present a different List C document instead of the laminated card like a birth certificate, great. You simply inspect what she freely chooses to present.
Let's look at a third scenario, which is notoriously difficult. Marcus in New Jersey. Marcus is a foreign national working in the U.S. on a specific visa. He presents a foreign passport and a Form I-94.
Oh, this is where untrained reps completely fail. An untrained friend might look at a foreign passport and say, I need a U.S. document. I can't accept this.
Which is a huge mistake.
That is a fast track to a discrimination lawsuit. A foreign passport combined with a Form I-94 bearing the same name and containing an endorsement of the individual's non-immigrant status is a valid List A combination.
Meaning it proves both identity and employment authorization.
Exactly. A savvy authorized representative knows exactly how to record the foreign passport number, the issuing authority, which is the country of issuance, and the 11-digit I-94 admission number in the specific designated fields of Section 2. It requires intense attention to detail.
Fourth scenario, Elena in Texas. Elena is highly protective of her personal privacy, especially regarding identity theft. She brings her Texas driver's license and her U.S. passport to the meeting.
Okay.
She hands you the passport and says, "I'm using this so I don't have to show you my social security number or write it on the form."
Elena is entirely within her rights regarding the documents. A U.S. passport is a List A document. It satisfies both identity and work authorization simultaneously.
So she doesn't need to show the license or the social security card.
She does not need to show her driver's license or a social security card. As for writing her social security number in Section 1, providing an SSN is technically voluntary for the employee under standard federal rules.
But there is a massive exception to that rule, isn't there?
Yes, and this is where the elite strategist proves their worth. If the employer uses E-Verify, the social security number is mandatory in Section 1.
Really?
Yes. The E-Verify system cannot process the query without it. You have to know the employer's specific protocol before you meet with the employee to advise Elena correctly on whether she must write her SSN in Section 1.
Wow, that's nuanced.
But regarding her physical documents, the passport is fully sufficient.
Okay, let's look at one final scenario, Kevin, in Washington State. Kevin presents a valid state driver's license, hands it to you, and says he is ready to wrap up.
A state driver's license is only a List B document. It only proves identity. It says nothing about his legal authorization to work in the United States.
Right.
A rookie mistake is recording the driver's license, assuming that's enough, and signing the form. If you do that, you just committed a substantive violation.
Boom, instant fine.
You must ensure Kevin also provides a List C document, like an unrestricted social security card or a birth certificate issued by a state or local authority. You must record both documents accurately in their respective columns in Section 2.
These scenarios highlight exactly why this is a premium high-value service. It requires specialized knowledge. And speaking of specialized knowledge, if we are talking about state-specific nuances, we absolutely must address the ultimate state-specific landmine.
Oh, yes.
The California rule.
If you operate in California, or if you are pitching to an enterprise that hires remote workers in California, you must intimately understand California Business and Professions Code, Sections 22440 and 22441.
It's a big one.
California treats the Form I-9 as an immigration document. Therefore, a California notary public cannot complete a Form I-9 for compensation unless they are also a qualified bonded immigration consultant.
That is a massive jurisdictional hurdle. I mean, if an HR director in New York is totally unaware of this law and they hire a standard non-bonded California notary to verify an employee in San Francisco, what happens?
That notary is operating completely outside the law. This can completely void the verification, leaving the employer liable for having an invalid I-9 on file.
Which ironically is a massive selling point for our listeners. If you are a bonded immigration consultant in California, you are not just selling a signature, you are selling regulatory safety.
Exactly.
You can look that New York HR director in the eye and say, "Hey, I am the bonded representative that California law requires. I protect you from voided verifications and ICE fines."
Yeah, that's the perfect pitch. And now that you possess this high-level compliance knowledge, it is time to pivot to the application. It is time for Money Making Monday.
Let's get into it.
How do you actually monetize this knowledge at an enterprise scale? We are shifting the focus away from scraping for one-off $50 gigs on gig platforms and moving towards securing lucrative, long-term B2B corporate contracts.
Your target market here is not the individual employee who needs a form filled out. Your targets are enterprise HR departments, national remote recruitment firms, and professional employer organizations, or PEOs.
Yes, PEOs are huge.
For those unfamiliar, a PEO is an outsourcing firm that provides services for small and medium businesses. They manage payroll, benefits, and HR tasks. PEOs process hundreds, sometimes thousands, of remote hires during seasonal surges. They need a scalable, reliable partner.
To pitch these entities, you really have to understand the competitive landscape and pricing models. If you look at national competitors, you see a wide range of pricing that clearly establishes the premium market value of this service.
What are the numbers looking like?
Well, take a company like the Best Notary, a nationwide service. They charge between $229 and $279 per appointment for one-off verifications.
Wow.
They offer starter packages at $995 for just 5 appointments.
Then you have regional specialists like Fingerscan Digital in California. They charge a $90 flat fee if the employee comes into their physical office, plus substantial variable travel fees for mobile execution in the field.
Even at the enterprise software level, the pricing holds up. Equifax offers an outsourced I-9 service. They charge around $84.95 to $100 per form completion.
Just for the form.
And that is on top of their monthly platform access and E-Verify subscription fees that the employer is already paying.
So the market clearly supports premium pricing because of the sheer liability involved. When you pitch to a VP of Human Resources, you don't pitch single appointments. You structure long-term master service agreements with contractual bulk rates. You use tiered pricing to secure their high volume.
Let's break down what a tiered structure looks like. Tier 1 pricing might be for a client who commits to 1 to 50 cases a quarter. Your rate for that tier is $150 per file.
Okay, $150.
It provides them a dedicated professional service, and it provides you a very high profit margin.
And as their volume grows, the price scales down to incentivize exclusivity, right?
Right.
Tier 2, for 51 to 150 cases, might drop to $110 per file. But the real goal is securing a Tier 4 high-volume contract.
The Holy Grail.
Say you land a PEO doing 500-plus hires during a Q3 seasonal ramp-up. You price that volume at $75 per file. Do the math on that. At 500 cases, that is a $37,500 contract for a process that, when executed efficiently by your trained team, takes about 15 minutes per physical appointment.
But to win those Tier 4 contracts, corporate clients demand absolute operational guarantees. You cannot just promise you'll do a good job. You have to bind yourself to service level agreements, or SLAs.
SLAs, yeah.
These are the hard metrics by which your contract is judged and renewed.
An enterprise SLA looks like this. First, a 4-hour contact initiation. The moment HR securely transmits the new hire's info to you, your team contacts that hire within 4 business hours to schedule the physical meeting.
That speed is crucial.
Second, a 48-hour completion guarantee. You guarantee that Section 2 will be completed, signed, and securely transmitted back to HR within 48 hours. This allows the employer to easily beat the federal 3-day deadline.
And the most important SLA of all, a 99.5% compliance accuracy rate. It is. You are contractually guaranteeing that your forms will not trigger substantive violations during an ICE audit.
Think about this strategically. You are not selling a signature on a piece of paper. You are selling a $2,861 insurance policy against ICE fines.
Exactly.
How does shifting that mindset change the way you pitch? You don't walk into a boardroom and say, hey, I can look at IDs for you. You say, my firm mitigates your federal exposure. We ensure every Section 2 is executed flawlessly, entirely insulating your company from the March 2026 ICE substantive violation penalties.
That is a pitch a VP of HR signs off on immediately.
It really is. And to maintain those lucrative enterprise contracts year over year, you must execute flawlessly and help employers navigate complex, unexpected operational hurdles.
You have to be a true compliance partner, not just a vendor. One massive hidden opportunity here is mergers and acquisitions.
M&A activity is an absolute goldmine for an elite authorized representative firm. When Company A buys Company B, what happens to all the HR paperwork?
It doesn't just go away. The acquiring company inherits all of the acquired company's past I-9 liabilities. The legal term for this is successor liability.
Successor liability. So during the due diligence phase of the buyout, the acquiring company's legal team will audit the target company's I-9s.
Always.
If they discover terrible records, missing dates, blank titles, rampant friends and family errors, they cannot just accept those forms. If they do, they assume the massive financial liability for all those potential fines.
The legal remedy is brutal. The acquiring company must execute entirely new I-9s for all acquired employees. And here's the kicker. They must do it within 3 business days of the closing date of the merger.
3 days. Imagine a tech company acquiring a remote workforce of 300 people scattered across the country. They have 72 hours to physically verify 300 physical documents.
It's a logistical nightmare for them.
But it is a massive, high-margin, bulk rate opportunity for a coordinated authorized representative firm to deploy agents nationwide.
Another ongoing operational hurdle you manage for your clients is re-verification, which utilizes Supplement B of the I-9 form.
Ugh, Supplement B.
Employees with temporary work authorization, like certain employment authorization documents or specialized visas, have expiration dates. The employer must physically re-verify their continued authorization to work before that document expires.
Right.
You become the retained partner to handle all physical re-verifications nationwide on a rolling basis.
To ensure your firm hits that 99.5% SLA accuracy rate across all these scenarios, you must implement a rigorous internal quality control checklist. Every form your agents touch must pass QA before it is ever sent back to the corporate client.
The QA checklist is your final defense against those new substantive errors. First, ensure no whiteout is ever used.
None.
If an agent makes a mistake writing a document number, they must draw a single line through the incorrect data, write the correct information next to it, and initial and date the correction.
Second, verify the signature sequence. The exact same person who physically viewed the original documents must be the person who signed Section 2.
Very important.
You cannot have one agent inspect the passport in the field and another agent sign the form later back in the office.
Third, meticulously check the date formatting. Ensure all dates use a 4-digit year in the YYY format.
It seems minor, but strict adherence prevents digital rejection if the employer uses an API integration to feed the data into their HR software.
Here's a scenario that tests your QA protocol. What do you do if the employer sends you a partially filled Form I-9 and Section 2 has a blank hire date, and the remote employee sitting in front of you says, I don't know my exact official start date yet, HR hasn't told me, just leave it blank?
That's a trap.
You halt the process immediately. The authorized representative must decline to sign the form in that moment. You escalate it back to your corporate HR contact and require them to provide the exact start date.
Because leaving it blank is...
Guessing the date or leaving it blank is now an uncorrectable substantive violation under the March 2026 rules. You protect the client by refusing to execute a non-compliant document, even if it delays the process by an hour.
It is about strict, uncompromising adherence to the process. As we wrap up this session, I want to leave you with a broader concept to ponder. We are rapidly moving into an era of massive digital integration and compliance.
We really are.
With the rise of digital I-9 repositories and government API integrations, an ICE auditor no longer has to physically walk into an HR office and sift through dusty paper boxes.
The audit process is becoming entirely digital and automated. An auditor can simply run a digital script against an employer's entire cloud database.
Wow.
That script can find every missing date, every blank title, and every formatting error across 10,000 forms in mere milliseconds.
In an era where digital tools make identifying errors absolutely instantaneous, the value of a perfectly trained human authorized representative in the field has never been higher.
Never.
The technology can flag the errors with terrifying speed, but only a human can prevent them at the moment of physical verification. The ultimate question for you, the savvy strategist, is this. Will you be the one providing that flawless execution to corporate America?
We want to hear your thoughts, your strategies, and your questions as you build out this B2B vertical. Please email your questions to Derrick at derrickspruill.com. We will try to answer as soon as possible at the end of our shows.
Exec producer Derrick Spruill, lead writer Marylyn Trotter, graphics Montes Travis, music Thomas Bynum, produced by Magnificent Workz Business Solutions. Don't just be listeners of the knowledge, be doers of the knowledge. This is Notary Knowledge. Until next time.
Are you an aspiring notary looking to join millions of other notaries? Start your journey with the Notary Public Foundation by Derrick Spruill. This essential guide provides the step-by-step process to becoming commissioned in your state. Don't stumble into the role. Walk into it with confidence. Grab your copy of the Notary Public Foundation by Derrick Spruill on Amazon today.